Hello and welcome, developers. My name is Shay, and this is another episode of Shay Develops. Today we're going to be talking about strings in Java. So strings are nothing more than a sequence of characters. They're a special type of variable in Java, and they're basically just like an object. So we can create them, strings, in two ways. First, we can use just string. Let's say s1 equals this is my string, and then we can do another way. We have to use the new command. Say new string is my second string. And now you might be thinking, okay, well, what's the difference in creating them these two different ways? Well, it has to do with how Java creates the strings. In this way, Java creates the strings and puts them in a special place in the heap called a string pool. And then whenever you create a new string using the top method, it goes through the string pool, sees if there's another string that's created that way, and then instead of creating a new string, it'll just reference that string again. And it may be a little complicated to understand, but we'll get to that more, and that's called interning. And also another thing to keep in mind is strings are immutable, meaning they can't be changed once they're made. And you might think that they're changed, but what actually happens is that original string that you created is still left in the reference to it is still there. It's just still there. It hasn't been changed. What happens is Java creates a new string and then stores the reference to that new string in the variable. So here s1 equals, this is my string. S1 doesn't actually equal this is my string. It equals a reference that points to this sequence of characters that says this is my string. So whenever you print it out, you're definitely still going to get this is my string as soon as it loads here. Just a second. So you're definitely still going to get this is my string because it points to the reference. The reference goes, gets the data that's there, and then comes back and prints it back out. So that's kind of a quick way to describe that. Alright. So strings can hold just a sequence of characters. They can also hold Unicode. So if you wanted to create like a copyright string, you could do string copy string equals, and we can do slash u00a9, and that's Unicode, and we can put, say, 2019. I'll go ahead and no, that didn't work. There we go. Alright, so now if we run this, we're going to get a copyright signal 2009. Actually, we will not do that. Not until I output it. Okay, so now if we run it, you see down here, we get copyright signal 2019. So it can hold this piece of Unicode right here, as well as the sequence of characters. And you can actually do some other things like convert non-strings to strings. We can, let's create a couple of integer values. Let's do age equals 26, right? So we have an integer with the age of 26. Now what we want to do, let's do another one. Let's do, actually no we don't. We don't need to do that. We can do something else. So let's do another string here. We'll do my age equals my age is, and we'll do age. And when we output this, it's going to output my age is 26. Converting, even just for that short time while we're outputting, converting though the integer into a string. So let's go ahead and run this and you'll see what I'm talking about. My age is 26. But see, now if we decided we wanted to add, say, 1 to my age, you might think, okay, well, it'll be my age is 27. So let's go ahead and run that. Really, you get my age is 261. That's because when you're converting a string, it works a lot like when you're reading. It works from left to right. So my age is the string. And by the way, this only works if one of the operands, which is whatever's on the left or right of the plus sign, is a string. That's the only way it'll work. So if this was like just my age is, and then I do string plus age, if I just took this part out right here, it'll give me an error and that will not work. So something has to be within the pass equal on the right side of the equal side. Something has to be a string. Alright, so we got my age is age plus 1, and that's giving us 261. So if we wanted to actually add that to be 27, we could use parentheses, and that'll definitely work. Let's run that again. See, my age is 27. But the reason, like back to the reason why that doesn't work, is because as it's converting all the stuff that's in on the right side of that parentheses into a string, it does it from left and right. So it does my age is, and then it does the age, and then it converts the 1 into a string. So there's no arithmetic that can be done. Matter of fact, you're just concatenating the 1 and the age to the string. So hopefully you guys understand that. I said test and play around with it if you're not super comfortable yet, but it's really not that difficult. Alright, so like I said before, strings are immutable. So what we can show that immutable strings. So let's create a new string, s1 equals s1 string, right? And then let's say s1 equals s1 plus and you see that this works, and when we print it out, it'll say s1 string change string. But what, like I said, what happened before is the s1 string is still there, but there's no longer a reference to it in the variable name s1. Instead, that got changed to s1 string change string. So what happened was Java has now created 3 different strings. It created the s1 string, it created the change string, and then it created both of them combined and then stored that reference back into s1. So while the variable s1 is changed, the string itself hasn't. So I know it looks a little confusing. It's like, oh, that totally changed. What do you mean it didn't change? Well, let's show you something else. Let's create a new string s2 equals s2 string, and then we're going to use a method on our strings that we're allowed to use called Concat. So we'll do s2 concat, which basically is the same thing as this plus symbol and then with another string on it. So we can just output modified string, just coming up with this on the fly. So, and once we can output this, we can output the s2. Let's go ahead and comment out this. And then when we run this, you notice we're only getting s2 string, even though we clearly concatenated modified string on the end of it. Well, the reason that's not happening is we're not saving that into anything, so nothing actually gets changed. So if we actually do string s3 and we come out here and we print s3, boom, we get our modified string. So you can see that strings are actually, like I said, they don't change. They're immutable. Alright, so the last bit that I want to talk about that I mentioned previously is interning. Now, interning is where you create a new string without using the new operator, and whenever you do, it checks the string pool to see if that string already exists in the string pool, and then just creates a reference to that string pool, or to that string within the string pool. Now if you use the new operator, it doesn't do that, and it just goes ahead and creates a new string. So I can show you that by creating a couple of different strings. We can do string s1 equals, actually let's do like s4 equals hello. And we'll do another string s5 equals hello. And then now let's do two more. S6 equals new string hello. And string s7 equals new string hello. Alright. So now we're going to print out, we're going to see if these strings are equal to each other. Now you might say, yeah, they're all equal to each other. They all say hello. But you'll find that that's not always the case. Alright. So we have S4 checking to see if it's equal to 5. Now we haven't talked about these operators yet, but we will in a later video. If not, though, you can just look up the Java documentation. They're fairly common and work the same way in almost every single language. But basically it's just checking to see if the two values that it's checking are equal to each other, and it'll print out a true or false depending on if it's the case or not. So the first, we're going to check if S4 is equal to S5. And then we can check if S4 is equal to S6. And then S6 is equal to S7. Get rid of that one. And we'll go ahead and run it. And then we get true, false, false. Well, that's because these two strings are identical. As far as they went into the string pool, they've made a reference to the exact same string within that string pool, where these two each created totally new strings and then made it to where they totally new strings in what's called the heap. And the string pool though is also in the heap. Just keep that in mind too. But we'll get more in depth about how heaps and all that stuff work later. But so we have two new strings that are created. They're not referenced in the string pool. They're just created on the heap. So whenever you go to say if they're equal to each other, it's checking the references and not what the actual strings say. So if you wanted to check to see if strings are equal, you would want to do equals, and we could do S7, and then that should give us true, and as you can see it does right here at the bottom, true. Alright guys, so that's it for strings. Hopefully you learned something, learn how to use them. If you like what you saw, if you learned something, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification icon. I try and come up with at least a video a week, if not more, with some educational content. As soon as I get through some of these like more easier topics, I'm going to dive into creating some Java applications, both in the command line and some standalone stuff. So stick around for that though. But leave a comment if there's something you want to learn, something you're having trouble with, see if I can help you out. I'll try to do my best. You can also find me on Twitter at Shade Develops. I'll put a link in the description. And if you want to help me further and be like super cool, I have a self-published book on Amazon called HTML5 Learning and Reference Guide. It's primarily on HTML and the elements and how to use those. It's $2.99, and that would go a long ways to helping me out. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Keep learning. There's going to be more content coming out soon. You guys are awesome. Take care.